Houston has a real blueprint staring them in the face. The Astros can move Christian Walker the same way the Cardinals unloaded Arenado. Eat money, clear the logjam, and reset the roster with intent. Meanwhile, Boston kicking the tires on Eugenio Suarez doesn't close the door on Isak Paredes at all. This is leverage season, and Houston finally holds it.
Jainel Diaz, this is Logjam Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chansey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You find me on X at Eric Talk Shows. You find Brett at H-Town Wheelhouse. We are the Locked On Astros podcast. We hope that you make us your first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, go and check us out. We'll be here all off season with our over 18 years of podcasting experience to help guide you through whatever the 2026 off season or 2025 off season, whatever it is, kind of presents, because it's been an interesting one so far, and it's not quite over as spring training is about approximately a month away. So the Astros still have some things to do, and we'll be talking about it. So go and make us your first listen, Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, and go and subscribe to us on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The wild card round is over. Texans are moving on, and FanDuel is officially in playoffs mode. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. So, Brett, I know that I have the wrong background up.
I got it.
But the Astros, they have something to kind of figure out, which is how they can get playing time for all these infielders. And I know we've been talking about Isak Paredes, and I don't want you to think that we want them to trade Paredes. We want Paredes in Houston. But as Chandler Rome said in his, I believe it was in Mailbag article, there is little to no interest at this time in Christian Walker. And a lot of it is because, Brett, because of his high price tag. 2 years, $40 million. That's a lot for a first baseman that struggled a little bit last year.
Yeah, he did. But you hang your hat on the second half if you're looking to move him somewhere where they're looking for a first baseman. You look to try to move that contract. I mean, again, I don't know if the Mets are in play. I know they're playing with some weird, funny numbers with Kyle Tucker. Rumors that they've offered him like a 2-year deal with an excess of $50 million. Yeah. And so if they're going to do that, they definitely wouldn't look on taking Walker, but they don't have a first baseman. I mean, surely Vientos isn't their answer for 26, but he is their guy right now.
Hey, Brett, real quick, remember that weird guy that everybody made fun of, saying that maybe Kyle Tucker would have to accept a high AAV short-term deal? Well, this is what's being reported right now. You know?
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to take that. I just don't think he will. I think Toronto clearly holds all the cards here because they are the ones that seem to be wanting to negotiate with him more long term, and that's where he's looking to go. But the whole Kyle Tucker market is just weird. And you know, when Nolan Arenado was traded, I was like, wait, hold on. This guy has got a lot more money guaranteed than that. Well, maybe not a lot, but he's got more money guaranteed in these next 2 years than Christian Walker does. So you're right. Is this a framework? Is this a framework for which the Astros can work with and kind of use as, you know, a model to get to a team that would do that? And in the second segment, when we talk about the Red Sox, I think there's some names and some players that we can trade. If we're going to send Paredes, we can send one other person, and we could get more than a pitcher from Boston. But the Astros got to fill holes, Eric. You know, they've got to fill holes. They don't have a left-handed bat. But and then if Isak is one of their guys that they're going to count on, how are you going to get him, Walker, Altuve, Alvarez, Nick Allen, all these guys playing time and get them in the lineup?
Yes. So going back to Arenado, so I know that the Astros tried to trade for him, and it was going to be probably the Astros. It was going to hurt the Houston Astros if they made that trade, but Arenado went ahead and blocked that trade. But so the Astros pivoted and they ended up trading Kyle Tucker instead. That kind of brings up the whole Kyle Tucker discussion, but they went out and got Isak Paredes to play third base. We'll talk about him, like you said. But Arenado was due $42 million over the next 2 years. And so if you're looking at what the Cardinals will be paying, they'll be paying with the help of the Rockies. Don't forget about that. But with help with the Rockies, they'll be paying $31 million of the $42 million. So that is around 75 to 80%. I didn't really do the math. So just expect that. Just think about it. The Diamondbacks are only paying $5 million this year and $6 million next year. That's
crazy.
A bargain. Even if Arenado is a shell of what he used to be, that's still a bargain for a leader, somebody to be a clubhouse impact. And that's something that the Astros will have to do for Christian Walker. And there's a case to be said, Brett, for Christian Walker having more value for the Houston Astros than you're going to get, because you're going to have to give up more money. And in a way, it doesn't make a lot of sense to trade him.
Right. And, the only reason why we're talking about trading in either one of these guys, and even Isak Paredes, as much as we don't want to, is because of the situation, the Carlos Correa situation, you can call it, the Jose Altuve, Yordan Alvarez, all these guys that literally are going to need to rotate 4 or 5 different spots, right? Is there a scenario where they keep Walker, they keep Paredes, they have Correa in there, and one game Correa's DH, Altuve's at second, Paredes, he plays a little bit of third base where Walker's at first, Altuve's in left. I mean, there's all kinds of scenarios, and you can roll through these things and give a lot of these guys playing time that they need. But Eric, at the end of the day, to offload that Christian Walker contract is going to be extremely hard. That's why I think Paredes is just an easier play. He's got 2 years of control left. He's got a lot of value. But then again, I think he's valued here in Houston more on this roster than in a trade. It's just going to be weird if all these guys are on the roster come opening day.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it because the Astros have not pulled the trigger on anything. So the fact that both of them are still on the roster and Daniel Brown says, hey, we can make it work. And I know that if you look at all the Chandler Romes, all the people out there, they're saying, hey, I don't think they can make this work. You can't give playing time equally and have Yordan Alvarez be your everyday DH. And you can talk to me until you blue in the face and say, well, they're going to need days off. But days off don't equal the playing time that Isak Paredes is going to deserve. He's probably was your best hitter outside of Jeremy Peña last year. And so it's a interesting situation the Astros have put themselves in. But yes, somebody said in comments, Christian Walker was not terrible. No, he was not terrible last year. The Astros don't need to trade him. But at the same time, they do need to open up that roster spot. Nobody's going to take on Carlos Correa's contract, even though he's probably, I saw a lot of Red Sox fans saying, oh, let's go and trade for Correa of the Astros. But I don't think the Astros are going to trade him after trading back for him. So I don't know what the Astros are going to do, but just looking at this framework for what Arenado got, I believe they traded one prospect. The Diamondbacks did to the Cardinals. And so the more that you pay of that contract down, the better prospect you'll get in return. And so that's the moral of the story. If you want to trade a guy, you're going to have to eat a big part of the salary. And so it's a matter of how much does Dan Brown and Jim Crane want to trade away Walker. Next, we're going to go ahead and talk about Isak Paredes. Are the Red Sox trying to get out of possibly making a trade? We'll talk about that next on the Locked On Astros podcast.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is H-Town Wheelhouse, and I'm here to talk to you about our friends at FanDuel. The wild card round is over. The FanDuel official playoff mode is in effect. And if you watched this last week's game, at first you might have been a little scared, a little worried. But have no fear, the Texans defense is here, and they showed up huge. Despite some crazy, awkward, and up and down play from CJ Stroud, the Texans get it done. So right now, I want to tell you that every NFL playoff game, NFL fans on FanDuel and the users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. This next week, the division rounds, 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday, and each of those game days, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boost you can apply to the bets you like the most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day. See what boost you want. The boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger. The boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks, apply your profit boost, and go after even bigger payouts. So visit FanDuel at the official sportsbook partner of the NFL and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day today.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen, Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go and check us out. If you want to become an everydayer, well, I guess you already are if you're listening to our podcast or watching our podcast, but we have an Everydayers Club where you can go ahead and get, if you have the all access subscription, you can get subtext, you can get access to a newsletter. Like yesterday, I did a newsletter article basically about this very situation. We're just talking about Christian Walker, and you get discounts, and so that you have the all access version. And then you have the Everyday Club version where you get for $5 a month or $50 a year, you get access to Discord, you get access to ad-free versions. There's just so many different benefits of becoming an everydayer on the Everydayer Club. And so go ahead and check it out. Go to lockedonastros.supercast.com. Sorry, yeah, that's right. Or go ahead and just check the show notes, and all the information is there. So Brett, I know that we've been talking a lot, and we don't want to endorse this. We don't want Isak Paredes going anywhere. But something has to give, and it seems like there's been a lot of buzz about the Red Sox, but especially after Bregman leaving, and then you have Arenado going to the Diamondbacks. Eugenio Suarez is still out there. Of course, this could be somebody that the Red Sox could be interested, according to recent reports. So let's say they sign Suarez. That means we can finally put this Red Sox thing to rest, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would end Paredes' possibility to Boston. Yeah, because, I mean, he's third base. They play the same position. You know, could we see a wild 3-team trade? I don't know. With some other pieces involved, we know that Suarez returned back to Seattle. He's a big swing and miss guy, but he's hit more home runs in the last couple seasons than he has in most of his career. So he's really kind of a hot bat. But right now, I don't care who the hot bat is or the pitching name. Unless you're Alex Bregman or Dylan Cease, you're not getting signed. No Suarez, no Valdez. You know, Cody Bellinger's playing ping pong with the Yankees right now, going back and forth on stuff. Kyle Tucker, is he going to make $30 million? He's going to make $50 million. Only time will tell. So the Suarez news, if he ends up, or these rumors or these thoughts that he goes to Boston, yeah. And look, I mean, is it the worst thing, Eric, if the Astros go into the season with all these guys on the roster? I don't think it's the worst thing. I don't think it's the best, most ideal scenario for guys to find consistent at bats and get into a rhythm at the beginning of the season. But if you have them, you have them, and you do with what you got. And sometimes having too much of a good thing, maybe it's not that bad.
Yes, but you just have to play, find a place for those good things to play. And that means putting maybe Altuve back in left field, which they didn't seem too comfortable with, or have Alvarez play somewhere other than DH. So it's going to be a lot of things that have to unfold for this to happen. So, yeah, I think Suarez is still a free agent. So, we'll see what happens, but I definitely the Bregman signing with the Cubs, that has kind of set up a chain reaction, and I think we're going to start seeing the dominoes start to fall. Does that mean that the Astros and Red Sox are going to make a trade? We don't know, but I know that the Red Sox, from all reports, are desperate to upgrade at third base. So if it's not Suarez, they're going to look out. They're looking to make a trade somewhere. So we'll see. I don't want to lose Paredes, but Brett, you have a special guest next. Can you tell us a little bit about your special guest?
Yeah, definitely. Evan Vader of the Midweek Athletes podcast. They cover all things Houston sports. They're homegrown. They're all from Houston. I'm actually going to be joining them on January 31st. They have a live pregame podcast that they're filming at the Toyota Center. I'll be there with them as one of their on-air guests. So I'm excited about that. So sit back and enjoy this interview with myself and Evan Vader, a true diehard H-Town, Houston Astros fan. So y'all enjoy our content corner, Astros content creator corner. Hey there, everybody. In the off season, we like to bring on content creators. We've got Houston Astros content creator. I mean, he talks everything Houston sports. I don't want to pigeonhole my guy, Evan, not Darth Vader, but Evan Vaden, co-host of Midweek Athletes. Evan, thank you for joining me, sir.
Of course, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Man, so 2025 didn't end the way that we've been used to Astros seasons ending, with no playoffs. A lot of questions in the off season, a lot of activity in the off season. But before we get into that, I want to ask you, have you been an Astros fan your entire life?
Yeah. I mean, growing up in Houston, I've always had a little special place in my heart for the Astros. Even being majority a basketball guy growing up, I've always kept my eye out on the Astros and hoped that they did well. I remember going as a kid when they weren't all that good and buying nosebleed seats and kind of going all the way down to like right at the base, or not the baseline, the first baseline, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely have a lot of memories for the Astros. So yeah, I've always been a fan.
Yeah, and your podcast that you co-host is called Midweek Athletes, and you guys have invited me on the show before. We interact a lot through Instagram. Tell us about your show. Tell us kind of about what you talk about, and how baseball season's good for you guys, because it's a long season.
Yeah, so the idea came about 2 years ago, roughly. And it's, we all went to high school together, and so we all just have that familiar. I can't say the word, but we're all very familiar with each other, right?
Right.
And so, just between group messages and, lunch table conversations and just, the whole nine, we just figured, why not just put it on camera, and, we already talk about it in the group message, so let's just put it on camera. And so, yeah, Midweek Athletes, we talk NBA, talk NFL, talk baseball, talk boxing, right? We try to cover all the sports, and at the end of the day, we just have fun with it. It's just three guys who just grew up playing sports with each other, and, just very, very passionate about our teams and about our sports.
And I will say this, for an all sport type podcast that's locally, that's, H-Town bred and born, and you guys are H-Town through and through. Y'all know what you're talking about. This isn't like y'all are like, okay, who's the first baseman? Because, you'll have guys out there that do podcasts and they focus on, a certain sport or whatever. I know myself, I learn a lot from you guys, whether it comes to Texans or Rockets, especially NBA stuff. Like, you guys go deep with that stuff, and you guys make me think stuff that I would have never thought of had I not listened to y'all show. So y'all make sure y'all check out Midweek Athletes, and we'll tell y'all at the end of the show where to go so you can subscribe. But let's get into it. 2026, we saw the signing of a Japanese pitcher, Tatsuya Imai. We've seen Mike Burrows come to the stage for the Astros, Ryan Weiss, an NPB pitcher, an American-born pitcher that's coming back to the U.S. There's a lot of high hopes for him. Nick Allen's here, in the Mauricio Dubon trade that made a lot of people upset in the local community. Dubon was a fan favorite.
Yeah.
So far, Evan, give us your breakdown of how you think this offseason has gone for the Astros.
I actually have a friend of mine from college, a former college teammate of mine. So I'll give him a shout out. Shout out to Willie. We talk baseball all the time. And, he's a big Baltimore fan. Obviously, I'm an Astros fan. So we always talk about, the forefront of that and what the off seasons look like. I think for me, the Astros are right where they need to be when it comes for the off season. I'll be the first to tell you that, early on, I was like, man, we need to go get a guy like Pete Alonso. We need to go get this guy. We need to go get this guy. We need to go get Dylan Cease, right? I was on the forefront of all of that. But looking back on it now and just really thinking about it, I think they're right where they need to be. I am a big fan of the Imai signing. It gives us more depth at pitching, but it also helps us expand more because, he's a young guy, coming from Japan. So I think his upside is going to be tremendous, as long as obviously barring injuries, etc. My only question really for the offseason is, what are we going to do with Lance McCullers? Like, that's really like my biggest thing. And Brett, you came on the show last year, and Wes is a big adamant for pitching as well. So I think he'd kill me if I didn't mention that. But my biggest thing is, what are we going to do with Lance McCullers? And I would love to get another key bat. Someone that's going to be consistent, because, this year, which I'm sure we'll get into, like, obviously injuries were a big problem for us this year. And, our best hitter ended up being Christian Walker. So, which he's serviceable, no disrespect to Christian Walker, but, I would love to get someone who's more consistent. I would love to get another bat out there for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And when you look at bats and you wonder like who they could go get, I know that Isak Paredes was one of our most productive players before his injury. He led the team in home runs. He leads a team, and he leads most batters in the league in pitches seen. His patience at the plate, his walk rate, his on base percentage is top notch. And I think the conundrum they're in is once they brought back Carlos Correa, which was a great story. Let me get your take on that. What do you think when they brought back Carlos Correa, man? I was pumped.
I think I want to say I was pumped too. It definitely came as a shock, just because, like, wait, Carlos is coming back? Like, is this for real? It was just like, I think it definitely took all of us Astros fans, by surprise, but I'm definitely glad to have him for sure.
Yeah. And the only problem is it creates this logjam in the infield. Jose Altuve, they came off of him being the primary second baseman last year pretty easily, where they started him in left field in spring training. And although it wasn't a disaster in left field, they're trying to expose him less and less to defensive chances. Yeah. But then you also have Christian Walker. You have Isak Paredes. Well, Isak Paredes was your third baseman. Well, now Carlos Correa is your third baseman because you have Jeremy Peña. And then, you could play him at first. Oh, wait, there's a guy named Christian Walker that you just mentioned that's there. He's getting $20 million a year. The Astros are there keeping him and not trading him, which I don't think they'll trade him because that contract is too big. They're hoping he has a bounce back year. But it sounds like there's a lot of 4D chess having to be played here in 2026 because who's going to play where? Yordan Alvarez, you're not going to have him at first. He's going to be your DH. you don't really want him in left field. But then again, do you want Altuve in left field? You see what I'm saying? It's
Right.
definitely, it's a good problem to have, but I think a trade needs to happen. And unfortunately, somebody on this team that's on it right now is probably not going to be here opening day. If I were to have my way, this is what I would say. And let me get your take on this. I know the Red Sox had floated the idea of Toll and in this young pitcher named Early in a trade for Isak Paredes. I would be willing to trade Isak Paredes and, now don't get mad at me, Houston, someone like a Bryce Matthews who has no path right now. No path. As much as I love Bryce Matthews, local product, and you trade him to Boston, you get back maybe Duran and one of these pitchers or one of these pitchers and Rafaela in the outfield, you might be able to make a deal with that. But that's the kind of thing you have to talk about, is losing pieces that you think that you're going to be able to depend on now and or later.
I'm not mad at that. I actually think that's actually a pretty smart idea. Just because, like you said, like that infield is just so congested right now, and it's not a bad thing. Just like you said, it's definitely a good thing, depending on how you look at it. But out of that whole mix, Paredes would be the one that would get us the most back. And I say that just because, like you said, he he started off the year with us very, very strong before his injury. And, we ended up bringing Carlos back. And then, so you look at this infield, and Correa, who's on the older side, Altuve, who's on the older side, right? Peña, who just got his arbitration done, which I'm sure we'll talk about that. You're not going to get rid of him. And Christian Walker, his contract's too big, and you just got rid of Dubon. So yeah, the next person would be Paredes, right? So
yeah.
I mean, there's names out there that I'm sure that I'm probably missing that you can probably get Paredes for. Just like I said earlier, I agree with Wes. I would love to get more pitching. The more pitching, the better. So anything to get us more pitching. But yeah, I'm not mad at that idea that you just floated around.
Now you mentioned Peña. Peña reached a deal. Hunter Brown reached a pretty large deal, second largest, next to Dallas Keuchel back when he did his thing. Do you think the Astros break the mold with either Peña or Brown now Brown isn't a free agent until 2028. So I'm not worried about Hunter Brown right now. But the one person I am worried about is Jeremy Peña going to get extended, or is he going to be the next Kyle Tucker to get traded for several pieces? What do you think?
Dana Brown, please do not let Peña walk. Please, you've already let one of our better hitters in Kyle Tucker, who I'm a big Kyle Tucker fan. You've already let him go, which understandably why. I mean, Brett, we talked about it on last year. Right. Juan Soto just set the market, so I completely understand. But please do not let go of Jeremy Peña. So if there's any way you can keep him, please keep him. Regardless of whatever the market says, I would love to keep Peña. Absolutely.
All right. So, Evan, give me your breakout player of the year, or someone to have a breakout season. And let's start with pitching, and then we'll go to the hitting side of it. The pitchers: Hunter Brown, Christian Javier, Tatsuya Imai, Spencer Arrighetti, Lance McCullers Jr., Mike Burrow, AJ Blueball, Ryan Weiss. Any of these guys come to mind and go, you know what? I think this guy's going to have a good 2026. And then tell me your position guy.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that Hunter Brown is our ace. So everybody would expect him to have a good year. I'm going to pick a dark horse here. I would love to see Christian Javier have a really good year. This is a guy that went 2-4 last year, 4.62 ERA, 34 Ks, which, I mean, I feel like just like I said, I really feel like he can make a really big jump. And I feel that way is because I've seen him do it. I seen him do it, in the World Series. I've seen him do it in really key games. I've seen him step up. So I think this year is going to be a really good breakout year for him. And as far as position wise, man, we had so many injuries this year. It's really hard to keep pace of who was there, who wasn't there, who was in the lineup and stuff. But I think this year is going to be Jeremy Peña's year. This is a guy that, he led us in batting average, but he was hurt, at some point of the year, right?
Right.
And I would love to see Jeremy Peña just take this leap and not only lead us in batting average, but home runs, right? RBIs, etc. Like, I would love to see him take that massive leap and be in that like MVP conversation kind of guy. So Jeremy Peña and Christian Javier for me.
No, definitely. And, he could be, and that's why I laughed at one of these lists on X. They listed the top 10 shortstop, and Zach Neto from the Angels actually made it in the top 10, and Jeremy Peña wasn't anywhere close. And I'm like, well, I know he didn't fall off last year, but good Lord, talk about disrespect. That's a little bulletin board material for our guy, Jeremy Peña. I'm looking offensively. I want Yordan to play 125 games. I want him to play 130 games. I mean, I think if he does that, he's chasing the single season home run record for the Astros. He's trying to get there in the stratosphere with the Bagwells and the Berkmans and guys like that crushed for the Astros. And he hasn't really been able to do that because of injury. So I'm looking at him doing that. But now let me just ask you this. Do you think they end their playoff drought of 1 year and get back to the playoffs in 2026?
Absolutely. I do feel that way. Just because we reloaded up on pitching, I'll continue to say that, but pitching, it was the biggest thing for me. Watching last year, we just didn't have anybody that was just consistent outside of Hunter Brown, and Aaron Getty, so I do believe so. And barring injury from our position guys, if everybody stays healthy, I do believe we can make the playoffs 100%.
Awesome. Well, hey, Evan, I appreciate you joining us here in our content creator corner. Tell everybody where they can find Midweek Athletes.
Yeah. Midweek Athletes, you can find us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Those are the 3 platforms that we use the most. So at Midweek Athletes, right under my name, Evan, at Midweek Athletes, you guys can find us. We talk all things sports. Come check us out. And thank you.
No, definitely. Thank you, man. We appreciate you stopping by and tell everybody Wheelhouse said hello. And I look forward to joining y'all again. And January 31st, I'll be joining you guys. Y'all are doing a live podcast at the Toyota Center.
Yes. Yep. We have a live pregame show at Toyota Center ahead of the Rockets versus Mavs game. It'll be in the Corona Lounge. So again, follow us on Midweek Athletes. All of the information is there to get your tickets, etc. The show will start around 5:00. So please come out, support. Again, live show at Toyota Center before the Rockets versus Mavs game.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Evan, for joining us. I appreciate it. That was a great showing from a local Houston content creator. Such a great guy to have on. And I want to tell y'all, thank y'all for tuning in today to Locked On Astros. Tomorrow's show, we will probably talk more about this roster, what to expect in 2026, maybe some things we see guys doing this year, maybe for the first time getting over some plateaus. So make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Astros. Join the Astros Everydayer Club at lockedonastros.supercast.com. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Astros ad free, plus members only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonastros.supercast.com. And for those of y'all on video, we send y'all to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make your second listen Locked On MLB. Hey, y'all, thank y'all for hanging out with us tonight. It's good to see y'all. Thank y'all for your comments. We appreciate your contributions, and we wouldn't be the #1 Astros podcast out there without you. Y'all have a good one. Like I say, always positive, always Stros.